In the first video of this series, we show you how to prototype a map from the top-down view using a tool on Google Drive called Draw.io. Today, we're going to transform that map into something in 3D using Unreal Engine and the brush editing tool, one of the most important tools you need to dominate when we are talking about prototyping levels in Unreal. But before we start, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to support this channel, to support the content that I am creating, and to support yourself and your path in the gaming industry. Not just because we are covering content, skills that you need to develop in the gaming industry, but also because I show you the strategies, the methodology, and the inspiring thoughts you have to keep in mind in order to progress in your career. And if you have family, studies, jobs, responsibilities, but also you want to start building your career in video games one step at a time, I got something for you. Visit William.com to learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator, a lifetime mentoring program that is designed for a person like you. Go to the free training, join us, and receive a 30 minutes introduction to what we do in the Game Creator Accelerator and principles that you can also apply to yourself to have a successful career in video games. And if you want to have a conversation one-on-one with me, go to the Game Creator Accelerator and register yourself. And now let's get started. In the previous video, we created this model of the level that we want to complete from the top view. I just added little elements for me to identify what are the sizes of the different blocks inside my level. For example, I added that this block A is 13 by 10, this one is 13 by 3, 4 by 17, and so on. Now I'm going to put this on one side. And just to let you know, I created a simple 3D third-person project in Unreal. And now I'm going to start by creating a new level, basic and create. Now let's start talking about the tools. First off, we are going to use, instead of the selection mode, we're going to use the brush editing. And second, what are the elements that I am going to add to the level? Well, I'm going to use the place actors, go to geometry, and these are the ones that I will use. And I have to tell you guys, these are the tools that every time that you're going to prototype something, I recommend you to use. And the reason is because you can change them, you can alter them easily. So let's start by adding a simple box. In fact, I'm going to make some changes. And the reason is, as you can see here, the box is not really centered compared to the other boxes on this floor. And it's important for me because this gives me a reference. So let me remove this box for a second, and then using the snap and setting instead of 10, I'm going to set it on 100. Every box you have here is 100 by 100. So it means that if I set the snap tool and I try to drag one geometry, and look that I'm not putting exactly on the center, it's going to fix to one of these blocks, to one of these positions. And now I have another great reference, which is this box measures 200 by 200 by 200, which means 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. And this is where the fun begins. So we're going to start with the center block, which is 13 by 10. So I'm going to take this, select one of the sides, and I'm going to start dragging. So 13 will be 13 of these small blocks. I have 2 already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now I have one of the dimensions and the other is 10. And I have already 2. So I'm going to move now 5 groups of 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have the 5. So let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. So I have the platform. This is the starting point. Now, the second section I want to create is this block of 13 by 4. So let's go for it. For that, I'm going to place myself, let's say some position like this one. I'm going to reselect the box brush, and with Alt and drag, I am going to create a new block. Now this block is 4 meters, so I'm going to drag this side to this position and check that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Excellent. But at the same time, as you can remember, I said that this block will be a bit higher than this one. In fact, 2 levels higher, because I don't want people to be able to jump from here to here. So what I will do is to take the top of this section and move it 1 and 2, because it's 2 levels higher than this one. A similar approach will be for this section on the top, which is 13 by 3. So I'm going to move to this side. I'm going to Alt and drag with the mouse. And because this is 3, I'm going to take this section and move it until I get just 3 blocks. And the top is just 1 level over this one. So I'm going to drag just once. Remember that we have the snapping on 100. Now let me make a quick experiment. Let's go to the player start, select where the player is going to start. Remember that this is going to identify where the character is going to start playing. And this is the the item that will allow me to set where I want the player to start. If I play the game, now you have 2 sections, and you can see that on this one, I can definitely jump and get over it. And in this one, no, I can't. This is what I want. It is important to realize that we are only using the snap tool to recreate an environment that was designed from the top-down view, and you can have a clear idea immediately if these proportions are going to work for you or not. Even if you feel at this moment that this design is a bit small, you can now go back to your map and in the top-down view and say, you know, this map is a little bit small or a little big. I want to make some changes. And you can make adjustment very quick here and then move it to the 2D map and make as well these adjustments. The next section I want to add is this one to the left, which is 4 by 17. In this case, I will move to this side, select this object and drag it with Alt to one side. Excellent. And we said that it was 4. So I'm going to drag this to this side and I'm going to complete it for here and here to this point. Excellent. But the other thing that we have with this map is that it is a level over this one. So I have to move whatever this position is going to be 1 level up. So I'm going to select the top and look that this is the height for this section, and I want to move it 1 level up that section. Excellent. This is going to have a great look. And one key element is the speed. How fast can we create using this tool, the brush editing mode? I gotta tell you guys, this is one of my favorite tools in Unreal to prototyping levels. Now let's go to this section, which is 7 by 2. In this case, I am creating something like a bridge. So I will select this object and I'm going to drag it to one side, maybe here. And then I need something 7 by 2. So let me move like here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another one. And because this is a bridge, I want to do it a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to select again to move it to the top. Excellent. This is looking great. Next element is kind of a platform of 6 by 5. Move it to one side. And in this case, I'm going to take as well this original and drag and make it 6 by 5. The 6 is on this side. Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now let's go to the 5. In fact, I'm going to take this side and make it to 5, something like this. Excellent. Next, I have to adjust the position, the height position. And as you can see, based on my legend, this is the highest level for this level. the higher height for this level, which is 5, which means it has to be 1 meter over level 4. So 1 meter over this section. In this case, I can approach 2 different ways. One way is to trying to figure out how is the height of this section and saying, okay, I think we are at the same height. Here you can see that we are in the same height. I need to put it a little bit higher. Or the other thing you can do is to click this button and you can see different perspectives of your level. And in this case, I have a perspective that will help me a lot, which is this one, is the front perspective. Here you can see the block that you have selected, and here you can see this other block, which is on the other side. This is on the other corner. And if you try to get closer, you can see that this one is a little bit 1 block higher than this one. This is a tool you can also maximize here. This is a tool that I use a lot when I have to play with this kind of proportions, creating my levels. And then you can click here and you will be back to your level. Now I want to connect these 2 sections with a ramp. Remember that in my legend, I decided that these orangey elements are connectors between 2 levels. So I want to connect this section with this one using a ramp. The thing is that when we move to our view, we can see also that eventually we'll need a ramp to connect this section to this one. And if we try to move this element, this block to, let's say, a position like here, this ramp has to be very, very steep, and we don't want that. So what I will do is selecting this entire box. I'm going to move it to the back to have more space for the other ramp, and now adjust this. So I will say, okay, I'm going to move this 1, 2, and probably a 3. I think that's going to be enough. And now let's add a ramp. For the ramp, I will add a new box. Let me get a bit closer. I'm going to add a new box, drag it inside this one. Oh, okay, drag it inside this one. Oh my God. I have to unselect it. Geometry, box, and drag it inside this one. Now I get it. And I'm going to move this a couple of meters, something like here, and get it to the corner. Excellent. And now I'm going to pick this side, just this side, and drag it up and then to here. Excellent. So here we have a ramp. If you feel that the ramp doesn't have enough space, well, one option that we could have, in fact, is something that I'm just checking on my map, realize that this bridge was a little bit thinner. It was just 2 meters, and I didn't do that. So let's make that change here. So I'm going to pick one of these sides and move it to 2 meters. And now I'm going to drag this entire structure. Fantastic, much better. And now I'm going to select this one, this side, and connect it. Okay, this ramp looks much, much better. Now let's add the resting ramps for our model. As you can see, we have this ramp, a ramp here, even though you can jump from this point to this point, and also a ramp here. As we did a moment ago, first I unselect everything, and let's start with this ramp. Place actors, geometry, box. I'm going to drag a box here and then move it to 2 as well. Excellent. I think is pretty center, maybe just a little bit to one side. We'll see. And now let me take this, moving up and close and adjust. I think this ramp, yeah, in the original model, this ramp was 3 meters wide. So I'm going to expand it a little bit. Excellent. Now let's go to the other ramp on this position. I'll select everything, place actor, select geometry, box, and this one is going to be pretty simple. Move this one to one side, and in this case, instead of selecting just one face, I will select this edge. So click on this edge, move it down, and I am creating the ramp. But as you can see, it's very steep. So first, I'm going to move the side, let's say probably 3 meters. Let me see if this is going to work. And then down. I think this is going to work. Fantastic. And finally, we need another ramp for this. Oh, finally, now we have 2 more. I'm going to add a new ramp for this side. Drag it. And now on the top, just the top, I'm going to move it down. And now finally, this edge. So select just the edge. Move it down. Excellent. And I need another ramp for this section. Place actor, box, drag it here, go to the top, move it down just a little bit, go to the edge, and down again. So if we start playing our game, we have our character can climb here, can go in this direction, can go also to the other side. Let me check that everything is working. Excellent. And you have to be careful of not falling. Great. In fact, let me check one more thing by playing the game. Let me see if I can climb this ramp. Oh, yes, I can. I can. Though, you know, it's not looking perfect. If you don't feel that it's looking perfect, you can also expand or move a little bit in distance this section and then adjust the inclination of the ramp. The next element I want to add are walls, and these are the walls. Remember the code, these are walls. So let's go to it. For the walls, let's move to the top. Excellent. And now place actors, again geometry, box. I'm going to drag a box here and let's move this wall, but I'm going to change the snapping. Instead of 100, I'm going to set the snapping in 50, which is half meter. Something like that. Excellent. And I'm going to move it to, I'm going to select it completely and move it to this side. You can see it's working perfectly. And now I'm going to drag this side of the wall. Excellent. And now I'm going to copy this wall and move it to this side as well. And complete with this section. I'm going to check, let me check just a second. Oh yes, you can see that this ramp is 4 meters wide. So what I will do is first expanding this ramp on this side 4 meters, which is here. And now I can adjust this wall to fit that space. So let me go something around here. Excellent. Now let's complete the wall. Oh, I forgot one thing. I want to make this wall really high. It is a good practice overall when we're talking about third-person video games to have walls that are very high. So in this case, let's move it to 3 meters. So I select the sides. Oh, for God's sake, I am not selecting the side. Now I got it. And 3 meters. Excellent. Now let's go and select one of these and move them, drag it to make a copy to the other corner. Here we have it. And now I want to drag this section, this side onto this corner. Finally, I'm going to add 2 small wall elements for these corners as well. For being easier for me, I am going to add another block. I'm going to expand it until 3 meters and I'm going to compress it to 50. Excellent. And now let's select the entire object again, move it to the corner, and then select one side and move it like here, I would say. Yes, this is looking great. And now let's move it here. Probably, I'm going to move it just one more and then expanding this a little bit. Excellent. Now I'm going to replicate for the other side. And then I'm going to move up because I want to select these last two together using Control and clicking over both of them. And then with Alt, I'm going to drag them to the other side. Let's check the position to confirm that is the right one. And I think they are, in fact. Yes, I think they are. What's next is to test it. Let's see how do you feel the game at this moment. So I come in here, and here's kind of a room. Excellent. And here, this is an exit. As you can see, when you get to the exit, if you will have a roof, it's this height won't be enough. If you feel that, well, the only thing you got to do is to go backwards and select these elements. You can select them all at the same time, but, well, it's a matter of preference, of course. And you can move them one at a time. In fact, I'm going to change the snapping back to 100 because I want to move 100 each time. And here as well. Now, I want also to create a wall to this section because this will allow the player to move to another part of this level. This is just the block A. So what I'll do is select this wall, drag it to the other side, to the entire other side. Let's say I'm going to place it in a place like this is going to be okay. And I want to connect this entire wall to this corner. I don't want to allow people to move through that space. Well, maybe I can allow them later, but not at this point. And I want to create a door that will be 3 meters wide. It's a big door. Yeah, I'm going to move this object, the entire object down. And on the top, I'm going to move it 1 more meter. And now let's duplicate this one to the other side, which is here. To make this consistent, by the way, I forgot to make this section, which will be 4 meters wide, this ramp. So this ramp should be 4 meters wide. But in this, I'm seeing that it makes no sense when we have this door and this ramp and it's like to one side. So I'm going to make it, instead of 4 meters, is going to be 3 meters wide. And finally, I want to change the starting position of the player. Remember that we said that the start position is here in our map. So let's drag the starting position, which is this one, the player start, and I'm going to drag it to here. Let me check. F. Excellent. Let's play. Okay, we're starting here, and you can see that you give several options for the player as soon as we start. If you want to make it even more interesting, you might be closing this door and providing with some elements that they have to look for in the game, in the other sections, to being able to open the door. I don't know, I'm just tossing some ideas. At this point, what I want you is to have a clear perspective of how you can prototype a level really fast using the brush editing tool in Unreal. Finally, I am going to remove, well, I don't have to remove, I can hide this floor for a second so you can see how this level is going to look. And it's looking fantastic. When you are creating levels that provides the player with the opportunity to climb to places, to explore, to discover, it's inevitable, but they will try to to play. They want to discover what things can be on one place or another. In fact, that is one of the reasons in many occasions people find bugs in the game, because you know that there was a section of the level that they didn't pay much attention because nothing was there. And the players decided, yeah, I want to explore every corner and see what I can find. One small element I forgot to add were the columns. So I have several columns here. I have 3 here and 2 on this side. Let's add them. The columns are 1 by 1, which makes things really easy. Place actors geometry box. And let's make this 1 by 1. And now let's place them on the right position, which will be, in my case, here. And then I'm going to move the column up. Usually the columns should be a bit higher than the rest of the things, but well, you can do whatever you want with your columns. And now I'm going to drag a copy of that same column for, I think it was this position. Let me check on the map. It was something around there. Well, in fact, the columns were kind of inside this wall. So I'm going to move this one here and this one here and another one on the center, something like around this position. And then I'm going to take these two columns, this one and this one, and I'm going to drag a copy to the other side. I think the position was someplace around here. It makes not much sense at this moment, but you know, it's going to add an extra element for our environment. And the columns, the importance of the columns is that, well, they allow the player to hide. And this is a key important factor when you are creating games where you have to hide from an enemy to pass to the next section, or if you have to hide for a second to kill him from the back. I also want to mention something in terms of composition. Let's say that you have this door closed and you have to explore on this direction and take a look of the map of your map from this perspective. Well, you will see that there are elements that will call you without telling you where to go, which is that door on the back. And any person that is exploring will try to say, okay, I want to go to the other section that is beyond this door. Do you remember that I hide this floor while we were developing? Well, what I need is really to hide the floor when we are playing the game. So I can select the floor, go to rendering, and there is an option called, I think it's something like visible. Okay, actor hidden in game. So I'm going to click this one and now save. And now this is much better. So you can see if you can fall to the emptiness, and now you are inviting the player to go to that wall at the end to continue exploring this level. Once you have tested your game and you feel that this is exactly the level as I wanted, then you can start changing these elements, which are, as you can see on the outliner of type brush. These are very heavy and it takes a lot of processing because you can change it a lot. You can take one of these elements, let's say this box brush, go down to the brush section, here brush settings, sorry, and inside that you have one called advanced. In advanced, you have the option to create a static mesh out of this. Static mesh are more efficient. So in order to present this example, I'm going to select this object and create a static mesh. So the first thing is they're going to ask you, where do you want to put your static mesh? I suggest you to create a folder for your static meshes. So I can say static meshes, and you can set a name for that specific static mesh. Again, keep an order. At this moment, I'm going to leave it just as it is suggested. So I create the static mesh, and now you will see that the type of this object is a static mesh. And different to any other brushes, when we go to the static mesh, now we have this object that I can also replicate in different sections of my level. Again, this is because we already test our level and we feel that, okay, this is going in the direction that we want. One important element about static meshes is that then you can add some materials. Let's go to your project in the content browser, select content, right click, and you have the option of add import content. Go inside that one and select add feature or content pack. And inside that one as well, go for content and select the starter content. This includes a lot of basic materials that you can play with on your level. So I'm going to add this to the project, and now you can see that we have this starter content. You can filter that by materials or material instances, and here you have them. I'm going to change the brush editing tool to the selection so I can have more space. And now I can drag one of these materials, let's say this M ground moss, to this static mesh. And now you can see how the static mesh is looking. It's not perfect, but at least it's going to provide you with not just blocks of design for your level, for your static meshes. Again, this is once you transform the brushes into static meshes. Now, the questions that will pop on your mind at this moment is, okay, but if I have a static mesh, can I adjust the static mesh afterwards? The answer is yes, but it's a lot more difficult than working with a brush tool. You have an option here that is called the modeling, and well, I guess that I'm going to explain that in another lesson, but yes, you can use the modeling tool in Unreal. And if you ask me, I think that in the future, this is what Unreal is trying to create, to bring independence of developers, that not having to go or to learn a tool like Blender or Maya, because they can modeling things inside Unreal. One thing I want to add though is that when you transform your brush editing models, your brush into static mesh, something like this could happen because you don't have colliders for these objects. So how do we solve that problem? Let's select this object, which is our static mesh actor, and look for the static mesh, the original static mesh for it. So let's go to General and look for the static mesh. Click here. On the static mesh, open it, and you will find something like this, depending on the static mesh that you created. Now, this static mesh doesn't have colliders. How do you solve that? Go to the collision, and in this option, you have a list of different types of colliders that you can create. Because this is a box, I'm going to add a box simplified collision. And now if you go closer, you will see like a small green lines that implying that this is the collider. This is the design of the collider. Save, go to the map again, and let's test it. Now your collider is working for your character and of course for your scene. At this moment, we cover everything from starting using the draw.io tool to create a map of our level from the top to implementing that level inside Unreal Engine. But I don't want you to stop there. I found out several years ago that the best way to practice this ability is just to get into Google and look for level maps and then asking for a video game. One level maps that I like a lot are the level maps on Overwatch. Just saying an example. It doesn't have to be this one, okay? You can take another one. But they provide you with a lot of spaces that you can, in a way, replicate or take as an inspiration to create a level map for you. When we're talking about teams, 5 versus 5 or 4 versus 4, this type of practice is very important because the maps has to feel right. And also, it develops your ability to prototype with speed. And remember, Speed is everything when you are going to show how capable you are in the gaming industry. What is my recommendation then? Take a map, take the risk, and try to recreate it. And then why not? Share it with me. I would love to see your map and even test it. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Remember that we are not only covering technical skills for your career in video games, but also the mindset that you need to have and the methodology that you have to follow to have a successful career in video games. Keep in mind that only 50% of what you need is technical skills. The other 50 is the strategies and the things that you have to do to build a successful career. And please leave your comment. What is the level that you are creating? What kind of games are you planning to do to use this knowledge that you have at this moment? What have you created? And until next time, keep creating, keep sharing, and most importantly, keep dreaming big. I'll see you soon, my fellow creators.